Can you email Francis the link?
Sure. It's also on the
Just-
website.
That's it. All right, she's going to do it now. She's doing it now. All right. Okay. All right, so everybody, welcome to the February 14th meeting of MNRCC. Thank you for everyone who's here joining us. And so I understand that we do not have a quorum. Walter is on his way. He's delayed by an accident ahead of him on the highway. So I guess we can just go ahead over here. We can't approve anything, so everybody has the agenda. Thankfully, until the snowstorm, there was no chairs report because thankfully everything works fine. But the Metro North, in advance of the storm, held a press conference with Channel Lieber and all the heads of the subways and the buses. And they reduced some of the service because they anticipated that fewer people would be traveling yesterday. And there were very few delays reported, and they generally did a very good job preparing everything, and so that worked well. The only other thing I might want to, and I should mention, is that the train time app has something in common with the beta version of the MTA train time and the regular MTA map, and they've all been updated lately. One thing that particularly was of interest to me was the train time app for Metro North, which I used when I'm home. And I noticed a couple of weeks ago that the map did not reflect the accessibility of Scarsdale and Hartsdale. So I went on the chat there and I sent a message and never got a response. So Monday I sent in the chat that they had updated the app over the weekend, but they didn't address that, and bothered me that nobody responded to my earlier one, and I signed it with my name, MTA board member. Well, let me tell you, within 3 minutes, I got a response that they will send it to the developers to fix it. So far, they haven't done that, so that's the only other thing I have. So I don't have anything else. Anybody has anything they want to talk about in that respect?
I will give an update on whoops. I'll give an update. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. It's a volume button. You can unmute that, but okay. I'll give an update on something that Mike raised last month when you had asked about the status of the Beeline RFP. I had a conversation moments ago. This is hot off the presses with Joan and Emily in the county executive's office. And the proposals were due on the 5th of February, and now they're going through the review process. So things are moving. So that's good news there. And they I don't have any other additional information to share, but that's I know that was something that came up. Two other things, additional aspect of our conversation was regarding new members. For that first, yes, Ross.
There's a major echo, so
Sorry, I can't hear you. Hold on one second.
there's an echo, so can people mute themselves if they're not speaking?
We're having a room echo as well. Okay, were you able to hear me about the buses? Okay. We have a room echo. We have some issues with the two computers, no internet and things like that. Okay. I also asked them the status of new members, and they said that they were going to speak with the county executive and submit some members and talk to him as well about a bike ped member. So hopefully that will happen soon, particularly given the lengthy time it takes for approval. Does anyone have any questions about either the bus RFP? Although you know everything I can
I kind of missed the beginning because of the echo when I was responding to Francis, who said he didn't get the thing yet. So there's something gonna happen, is that the deal?
Yes, so well, Francis did get the email yesterday, so he can also look at that. But an RFP, the RFP on the Beeline buses was, proposals were due, responses were due on February 5th. So at this, they were received, responses were received, and now an evaluation team is going through the review process.
And that was for what with the Beeline?
The Beeline RFP, their contract was up.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, thank you. Okay.
But from what I understand, it's more than low bid. There's a lot of performance measures that have been put into place.
Sure.
So there will be a lot to consider in the review. So I don't know when we'll get any finalization, but at least we know where things stand. Well, that there's a milestone has been reached.
Good. Okay. All right. You have executive, any staff update or anything else that you want to bring us?
Yep. We staff has been very busy. We've been traveling near and far. We have, as you know, discussed with you some of the key items that we've been and issues that we've been working on. One, of course, has been voting membership for our MTA board members. And that's something that we're working on closely with Assemblymember Dinowitz and Senator Gennardis, who both carry the legislation. I spoke to Joan and Emily about that briefly as well, and we'll share that information with them. It's particularly timely as yet another member of the board will be leaving at the end of February, leaving another vacancy. So lots of holes at the table. Kara and Jack and I traveled to Albany last week.
Yes.
Last week or 3 years ago, it feels like, and for Transit Equity Day, and held a breakfast with Senator Comrie. Senator Comrie hosted a breakfast that we held to really highlight the three key affordability, equity, and accessibility priorities that we've identified that are really centered around the commuter rails. One is allowing senior, disabled, and Medicare discounts to travel using those discounts in the morning peak on Long Island Railroad Metro North. The only time of day where they're currently not allowed to do that, which means that even the governor couldn't use her discount if she wanted to. The other is fair fares on the commuter rails within New York City, funded by the city, and a city ticket weekly funded by the Outer Borough Transit account. So these are things that we're continuing to work on. We've asked the MTA to provide us with some information for the past year, and we're pressing forward. Senator Comrie sent out a budget letter with how many people signed on? 12 people signed on, 12 other senators signed on to that letter. So that makes it a bit of a priority. Yeah, and we're continuing to get positive responses from folks who we're continuing to speak with on that. We are also continuing to work on congestion pricing. Mike has authored an op-ed, an assist from Jack, Kara. And we will be asking if anybody would like to co-author that with him. I'll be sending that around later today. See if you would like to sign on, and we'll be submitting that to the Journal News. Part of my conversation with the county executive's office was to answer some questions they had about congestion pricing. In our conversations with some MTA folks, you know, we've expressed desire to see more outreach and exuberance, right? And more materials to be shared that would help to get positive messaging out. The hearings for congestion pricing start, well, this SAPA, the State Administrative Review Process hearings start on February 29th, which is next Thursday in the evening. And then there's one on the 1st, which is Friday morning, and 2 on the 4th. And we would love it if we could entice you to testify. We will write your testimony. We will feed you. We will sign you up. We will see what we can do to get you expedited in the speaking process. It's really critically, and because we know that you're on board, so thank you. We know, it's really critically important that we get the positive voices out, as well as the negative voices that we know will be heard.
And Lisa, what were those dates again?
February 29th in the evening, and you can be remote for this as well. February 29th in the evening, March 1st in the morning, and March 4th in the morning and the evening. Is that right, Jack?
So I can check the March 4th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So,
Well, I'm happy to do one. I just need to check my schedule to see which day is better and whether Zoom or in person is possible. And, guys, my response is all the complaints about congestion pricing. Maybe we should go to the extreme and say, no cars in Manhattan.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Just ban the cars then.
and this is from a driver.
From the driver, exactly, but who sits in traffic on an express bus. That's why.
So we, that some of our colleagues in advocacy take that perspective. We'd like to see some bus lanes. That would be a really good approach to helping to mitigate some of the traffic tie-ups as well. We can use that as your tagline now, Roz, when we help you with the testimony. So terrific. We'll if you let us know when, we'll let you know, and how, then we'll do the rest of the work for you. We understand that the turn-on date is mid-June now, given the dates of the lawsuits. Our next PCAC meeting is March 7th, and Jamie Torres-Springer will speak to us, will be our presenter on that date. And he'll talk about the capital program, where congestion pricing money will go, what's not happening because of the lawsuit tie-ups, and what the next capital program will look like as well. So that all ties it up in a bow as well.
Can it start even though lawsuits are still pending?
So far.
Okay.
There's been, some of the movement on the lawsuits has been positive, showing in the favor of the in the favor of supporting congestion pricing, and that there couldn't be bundled, that there was no support for some of the what's the word that's a nicer word than the one that starts with B, some of the more ridiculous, that's a better word, some of the ridiculous claims that have been made. So good news does happen. It just, for us not happening quickly enough. So any questions or other comments on that? Jack, do you want to talk about the social media and communications? Great.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Here, I'll turn this to you. And
There's great. Now you get my side profile and
Yep.
straight on too. Okay, so Metro North ran on a modified schedule yesterday due to the winter weather advisory. There were numerous delays were limited, but there were numerous 10 to 15-minute delays in the Hudson line in the morning due to weather-related issues in Poughkeepsie. But overall, few complaints from riders. Primarily people were just asking on social media if it was a modified schedule, and the railroad was very good about replying and saying that yes, it was. Next up, in the early hours of Monday morning, a rider highlighted that the ticket purchasing function on the train time app was temporarily down. The issue was resolved within a few hours and the complaints weren't widespread, but that was a problem. A rider was unhappy that a Metro North vehicle took multiple parking spots at Valhalla. And another rider asked why the train time app did not provide service alerts about the Hudson Line service, provide alerts about the Hudson Line service changes that took effect on January 16th. The railroad replied that there were train and platform announcements beginning on the 9th and alerts posted in Grand Central Terminal and on social media. That's all.
Any questions? Chris?
Yeah, I'd like to add something that, Lisa, this is new, so I just want to add regarding congestion price. And I will get back to you on this information. Q has been bringing this up about the lack of accessibility, about the congestion price. He is working on an idea or something, but he wants me to let you guys know that this is related to Metro North and all 3 divisions to be alert that we need everyone on this to mention the accessibility, because there's lack of information that has not been brought up. He brought it up yesterday at ACTA's meeting. He wanted me to make sure I bring this up to you at all costs. So
Okay, but what is the information?
he's going to be mentioning there's some more information, Lisa. You and I we've been following up with Q regarding the plaques and plates, because it seems you and I both said at the last TRC meeting there was a little bit of mixed communication. I did say you were right. We were correct on both ends. And there is some confusion about that. And he might have an answer about that in the next week or two, or during the committee meeting on the subway and buses. He's asking everyone that, like Lisa, you mentioned about the reduced fare for the railroads. He's also he's asking everyone to don't forget to mention accessibility, not just seniors and disabilities, but veterans as well. He brought this up yesterday at our exec meeting for ACTA.
Veterans aren't part of that fare structure. I'm not, so are you talking?
The veterans would be part of the disability category, but they still want me to make sure I say it as a respect to them.
Okay, not all veterans, disabled veterans.
Disabled veterans, yeah.
Okay, but now what about the aspect of congestion pricing that you were talking about?
He wants, since that a lot of some politicians and some community people are only thinking about the full fare of the congestion price, but no one has discussed, it's not here, it's outside, has not discussed the accessibility or the reduced fare pricing or the deals. They're only worrying about talking about full fare, in which Q is not very pleased, because the way it sounds like everyone thinking the congestion price is one price, which is not true. We've been saying this for the last week or two. He is planning to do something. I'm waiting for him to give us that information. And I did, for the record, I'm saying in front of you, Lisa, as well as PCAC staff here, I told them, please don't forget to mention it to Lisa Dakier and her team, because if she gets upset, I'm just going to walk back my hands up and say,
You wouldn't like her when she said,
right. Like that, right. So I'm just saying, I told them, you need
I'll
everyone.
follow up with you.
Yeah, just letting you know, he's letting me know to let you guys know, so we're sharing information to pass the word out. Once I get details, I will send it to you immediately to you, Lisa.
Okay.
And
Sounds good.
that's my word, so help me.
Thank you. I'll follow up with him as well. Great, thank you very much. Maddie, you have, our guest will be here in 5 minutes. Does anybody else?
That
Oh, our guest is here. Hi. How are you?
Yeah.
Good.
You
Um,
called on me or?
Yes, while Sam gets settled, Maddie, why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
I'm just
Do you
curious.
have a stick or something? that
What
you-
mean are we up to, first of all?
Oh. So it was in the email?
Oh, okay.
I'm saying, what part of the meeting are you?
Yesterday, it was a PDF.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You hear me?
No, hold on, Matt. Wait, we're gonna ask you to hold off for a sec.
Sure thing. Just tell me when it's time again.
There we go. All right. Do you have it? It's just right there. Sorry, we miss Kara. So Kara's in training, Kara is in NYU leadership training. One of the things she does is lead us in technology. I am not going anywhere. I'm just, you have yours, or you want me to get mine?
That other tab has.
Hold on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just putting you guys away for a sec. I got it, Jess. I got it. I've got it. I can do that. We can do that. Working on it. Technical difficulties, no, not really difficulties. There we go. Okay. All right. Hold on now. Matt, I'm gonna put your hand down for now. I am going to figure out how to share my screen. Screen? No. Nope. Okay, hold on. Oh, I know what I need to do. Split screen. There we go. With that. Nope. Nope. Don't worry, everybody, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It will. Here we go. Now, share screen.
Does it say you're sharing?
No, but I don't, it says it wants to do screen. Okay, sure. But I may be sharing, okay,
Oh, it's gonna share both sides. of the
that's
screen.
okay. Okay, now. How do we make this be? I don't know how to make this one go away. Oh, I do. Look at that. Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
All right.
awesome.
We have.
Now, did you want to answer that guy's question
We'll do-
first?
we'll do it
this
after.
first? Okay.
We're very pleased
Um,
today to be joined by Samantha. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Samantha Hawkins, the Assistant Director of Market Research for the MTA. Originally from Metro North, but now I handle both commuter railroads. And we're here to talk about just kind of a little insight view into the materials presented at committee last month. We're already into February.
So most of our members don't go to the committee meetings, so we thought that
Right.
this would be a great
It's
opportunity.
Anytime we can talk about it and get people to have, questions or anything that, to help them understand the work we do and how we apply it, all for that.
Right.
So.
Now I have to figure out how to turn it. That might work.
Mhm.
Is that,
Over here.
oh, there we go.
Okay,
There we go.
so the fall 2023, now we're doing these surveys, customer satisfaction surveys. Right now, we're doing them twice a year. And the fall 23 survey was conducted from November 6th through the 20th with English and Spanish offered online. And we also had a phone option for customers who were not able to complete it online and required additional assistance. So despite a 3-point decrease, Metro North's overall satisfaction is still the highest of any MTA mode, with 86% of customers giving a satisfied or very satisfied rating. New Haven line is down 5 percentage points. Hudson line is down 4. Harlem line is down 2. It may seem like the New Haven line, which is the largest portion of our ridership, usually drives overall scores. But we also saw a decline for the Upper Hudson that was larger. And we'll talk about that because for the most part, Metro North, you know, the key drivers of satisfaction are service related. So when there are service issues, scores tend to take a hit. So,
Or service cuts and could be that too.
Well,
Well,
no,
In Connecticut, there was.
right. I don't think we really see the impact of that as much because the trains that they cut were not made, like they left the peaks alone. So yeah, I mean, when you're changing patterns for discretionary customers, they're going to be less reactive than your AM peak inbound. Okay, so this is just, you know, we showed this at committee. We usually present a joint committee, so we show both railroads, but I just wanted to show you this so you could see how stable Metro North's score is over time. You know, we see a slight decline, but you know, we're sure we'll, you know, it'll bounce back up. Nothing too startling. So overall, looking closely at the score, so this shows our very satisfied, dissatisfied, dissatisfied, and the very dissatisfied. It has to do with how they rate it. The scale is 1 to 10. 1 and 2 are very dissatisfied. 9 and 10 are very satisfied. 6 through 8 are satisfied, and 3 through 5 are the dissatisfied. So what we can see is from spring 22 to fall and spring of 23 that the number of really heavily dissatisfied people decreased. You see the red bar decreasing. Now that went up in the fall. So we know that the migration from, you know, at this round, that there were a lot more very dissatisfied people.
Did this include the mudslide?
Yeah, well, it was, so the mudslide was October 21st. And we started fielding November 6th.
Okay.
So, you know, it was less than 2 weeks after the mudslide, and I actually printed out all the stuff from committee just to kind of illustrate, you know, the mudslide was a big deal. And then there was another disabled train incident that same day. And then October 31st, you know, 21 trains were impacted by a rail breaking. So, and then, you know, during field also, you know, on November 1st, there was something, metal debris impacting 13 trains. So 3 of the 6 major incidents that they reported in the November board book were during field period. So there were a lot, and they're all almost weather or, you know, equipment failures. There was nothing that was, for the most part, weather. So, you know, but, you know, on November 2nd, a trespasser incident on the Harlem line affected 55 trains. So there were a lot of incidents that had high impact on customers. So seeing it reflected in the scores is not unusual, and nobody was surprised. It was a rough slip and slide season for everybody.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. So the next slide just shows a little bit of the detail by line and by line segment. We typically look at things from Metro North at the line segment level because the geographies of the inner and outer and the lower and upper are so different and they have different populations. and also operationally, the schedule is organized that way. So, so you can see, you know, the Hudson Upper took, you know, a big hit, we assume, from the mudslides, because service was disrupted and changed for several weeks after. And, you know, general, when there are a lot of delays and things happening at the same time, we'll see it spread out over the whole system. So, you know, quite obvious here, we had significant declines across the board. Now, we talk about key drivers. We do a regression analysis to understand how the attributes that people are rating relate to overall satisfaction, because overall satisfaction is our main metric to understand where we are. So to raise overall satisfaction, you look at items that come up as highly correlated, highly important to customers, that had either good, you know, above average satisfaction or below average satisfaction. So this is just in the order of importance, so we can show the satisfaction levels instead of showing you a regression plot, which I have if you're interested in seeing it. But so this time, and we're going to change things up. We're constantly revamping and trying to make the survey more responsive and, you know, make improvements to it where we can and when we can. Value for money came up as the most important thing that drives satisfaction. We're going to take a different spin on value for money this time as we go out into the field for spring, because value for money is really an overall metric, and we want to see how the individual attributes relate to value for money as well as overall stat. So we're going to position it a little bit differently. But for now, service reliability, on-time performance, peak service frequency, these are the things that the majority of customers really care about. Service reliability and OTP, perceived OTP, came down 2 percentage points. You know, okay, that has to be changed. And then, you know, the other key drivers, those things that are above the average importance, transfers, or the transfer experience. It shouldn't be quality of transfers, transfer experience. Seat availability. Seat availability is our proxy for crowding. Hoping with the new courtesy campaign that people are taking advantage of the middle seat, and that people perceive seat availability, you know, as, I mean, during the pandemic, obviously, plenty of seats. Everybody was very, very happy. As we get back to ridership levels that are more pre-pandemic, we will see issues, you know, with standees on the New Haven line. I mean, there are all of the typical issues that you would see will start to come back, and we'll see seat availability, satisfaction with a drop, and that's really our measure of how crowded things are. And if we can get everybody to actually take an empty seat, then, you know, it would be even better. Frequency of delays, cleanliness on board comes up as a key driver. So if they can keep things clean on the train, that will improve people's overall satisfaction. And then off-peak service frequency, because we do have a lot of discretionary customers. So this comes up as very important to them.
What was the number one on Long Island Railroad? Was that service reliability? I can look back on that.
It just slipped.
Service or transfers, I think.
It was transfer experience.
Okay.
It was the transfers. I mean, yeah. So, you know, we had done a stated importance analysis last year, and the transfers didn't come up that high. But when we did the actual regression analysis, it was highly correlated with satisfaction. So
that was low here.
Yeah, it's lower.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know there was some question from Metro North leadership about why transferring is something that's so important to people. And I think it's just a matter of, I think that Connecticut influences that. I think we may be seeing as kind of an artifact of people on the spurs having to make that transfer to get into GCT, or people getting to Stamford and wanting to get on a super express train or something, you know, like, so I mean, we can always dig in closer to that, and we'll keep monitoring, especially as we get closer to Penn Access, how people are transferring and moving about and how we can measure it. Okay, so one of the questions we asked was, you know, which of the following items needs to improve to increase your satisfaction? So on this chart, the way it's split is the people who gave overall rating for the railroad they were dissatisfied, satisfied, very satisfied, and the bar going across is the overall sample. So you can see how each group kind of measures against the whole. This way we can see that people who are very dissatisfied and dissatisfied, what do they want? They want more reliable service. This is a key thing for them. And then better fare incentives and shorter wait times on weekdays. Now, for people who are very satisfied, the fare incentives comes up as the thing that would most improve.
But you don't ask them like what? Like what kind of fare incentives would you like to see? We'll ask them, don't worry.
Well,
No.
I mean, you know, this is if, I mean, you know, granted, the fares topic at the MTA can be sensitive,
Yes.
right? And if we're going to go to customers and ask them about fare incentives and fares, we want to make sure that it's in relation to something that is already being thought of and planned. We don't want to ask them about fares and go, oh, that's great information, but we're not doing anything.
Something open-ended, something realistic.
Right. We want to make sure that there's an action that can be taken at the end and that the data is actionable, that we're not just trying to kind of, you know, we say we don't want to just fill our brains with information. That's great. But we need to make sure that we're more targeted in how we utilize the information. And that's the key thing that, you know, now that we're part of strategic initiatives, that's kind of a key thing for us.
Right.
Is how can we strategically use this information to help adjust schedules, adjust anything? How can we talk to the agency leadership and say, this is what your customers want? And then I wanted to include for the committee and for all of us, something that was a little more of a good news story. So the ratings for 125th Street so we do this several ways. So we have our normal data set, but then we also look at individual stations and we combine the ratings for a specific station between the people who are boarding and alighting. So this is a combined sample. You know, sometimes people only want to look at people who are boarding at a station. But if you board at a station or you alight at a station on your return trip, you are still in that station as well. So treating boarding and destination, we treat the terminals a little differently. But great improvements, except for safety. We really can't measure the change for safety because we changed the attribute. But in general, the old attribute, personal security, and the new one, safety from crime and harassment, we're getting the same score. So that to me was interesting. We'll see next time if the safety from crime and harassment, if it moves. And then we can really tell if people feel safer. You know, I don't think it's as much of an issue on board as it is at stations like 125th, where safety is a big concern. From what I was told, and we'll confirm this when we speak to MTA PD next week, that they have been taking great efforts to make the area around 125th safer for people in general. And the police are there, they have a police station there, but they're also getting out and patrolling more often. And it seems to be working. People feel better there. You know, even things like signs and wayfinding and screens and digital displays, that nothing new has happened to them, but people feel better about it. So make improvements in safety and in cleanliness and making people feel like they're in Metro North and they're not in the middle of Harlem, you know, trying to avoid gunfire or needles, can really do a lot to help people feel like the whole thing is better. Shows the impact.
I was there, I thought it was well lit under the
Mhm.
over.
There's a business improvement district called Uptown Grand Central that's been making a big effort to try and improve the area too.
Right, I mean, that's the thing, it required a lot of when we look at certain stations, a lot of what goes on is not just the MTA's responsibility. You know, when we were talking about homeless people, it's the city, it's homeless agencies, it's NYPD. So whenever you're talking about a station area, yes, it requires a lot of different people from a lot of different angles to kind of come together and have an action plan that works. So, any questions from anyone?
Let's see if I can figure out how to
How to
Do you also keep
Unshare.
track of engine transit satisfaction on the Port Jervis and Pasco Valley lines?
Yes, we do. You know, their data lags, it's conducted differently, it has a different scale, and they have a different schedule. But we do our best, you know, when we think it's appropriate, because pulling in their scores and redoing them to make them look like our scores, you know, is a lot of very detailed work that we try to engage in. You know, especially if we feel like there are issues going on over there. We rely on NJD to collect that data, you know, unless somebody wants to come up with a couple $100,000 to field an onboard survey west of Hudson. But yes, we monitor it, we make sure, and you know, so they won't give us their data set. So like their fall data, they're going to their March board. Normal cycle.
Wow.
And so after March, then we have to request it from them. You know, we're trying to work out something where where they regularly disseminate it for us, but we can't really ask another agency to do work for us. So, yeah,
Sorry.
you know, it is a complicated relationship there, but we do try and make sure that if there are any issues that we pass them right along. We get a small number of West of Hudson customers that do answer the survey. I pull them out. It's usually about 45 or 50 of them. You know, their contact info in order to do an online survey is maintained by NJT. They're not going to give us their email addresses. They don't have access to them. They have an outside vendor that manages their email. So, and they don't also, you know, they have a weird way of organizing their data set. It's not always directly comparable, but we do our best, and we will continue to, Randy.
Good.
He's muted. Who's muted?
Randy, are you muted?
Yes, I just wanted to make, yes, Sam. A very nice presentation. Thank you, Samantha.
You're welcome, Randy.
I used, you know, years ago, I used to sign those paper
I
copies.
know,
I guess we don't do that.
we all miss our
And then-
onboard
and then I
surveys.
would-
We miss having you go out and,
I would yeah. and
we
when
miss
I-
having
when
you
I
go
was
out and
working, I used
interact
to
with the
go run-
customers.
Yeah, I used to hand them out on the train, and when I wasn't, then I would stand at the station and hand them out. I remember giving one to a guy one day. He gave me a hard time about it. He says, "Well, why should I do this?" I said, "Well, my signature is on this form here." "And what about the other guy?" "Well, the other guy was Joe Giletti." I said, "He's the
Yeah.
president." So he took it from me. All right.
I mean, that could be a way, I mean, I get the surveys in the mail. But I don't see a kickoff for them. Do you do some kind of a kickoff?
What do you
Like
mean?
in person, today we're launching our surveys, please everybody participate.
No.
That would be true, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is part, in fact, to the fiscal cliff
Yeah,
of
right.
the well, I mean, that happened pre-pandemic, right?
But
and
no
then the
said press
pandemic-
conference.
Yeah, so that's what Shanifa did last time in the fall. They had a press conference in front of HQ the morning that the survey was launching.
Oh, right,
With Rich Davey.
Yeah,
Karen, I-
right,
Of course. Better if we had known.
yeah. Details.
Yes, but yes, you know, it's a great idea to make sure, you know, we don't do a lot of kind of pushing up beforehand, like it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But we are looking at trying to effectively market and grow our subscriber base by doing things all year long and not just in the 2 weeks as we're fielding. So that's one of our biggest goals, is to, how can we get participation among these groups that we've identified? Whether it's hard to reach populations, ethnic groups, geographic locations.
Right,
You know, like for Metro North, we don't really have a problem per se. We get thousands per line. And Long Island, we have a little bit more of an issue with getting customers, you know, West Hempstead, low sample. And that's a hard to reach, low income population, that to reach out to them and get them to be involved in online research is, you know, it's one of our goals. We want to increase participation across the board. We want to make sure that everybody has a voice.
Right.
So that's,
Glenn?
Announcements made on the train, like on the train, so that people know that this is, the surveys are being done.
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
so-
QR codes or stations, like in
Yep,
stations,
yep.
signs.
Any
advertising.
station that has a digital screen will have it up. I actually had posters made for West of Hudson last time with the QR code and everything. Didn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't. bring as much-
Randy, aware of poster board.
We're-
Yeah.
You want posted timetable to the shelters.
Right.
Should-
Spend-
Randy could spin one of those signs, like.
Like the progressive, right. Well, if there's a way that we can help put that out, again, we're happy to be a focus group for any of the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had a rough time as market research has been moved group to group to group. With some of the old standing ways that the processes that we had laid down at each railroad for how these things work are kind of upended. Transformation, thank you very much. So, you know, I slowly keep introducing things from the old days and say, well, we should really be doing this. So I think our first big accomplishment was, you know, we wanted to make sure that we got in with the agency presidents and got their buy-in, and then their buy-in on the results before we went to committee. So, you know, that was a big move to make sure that like we had everything done. We had to build time in our schedule so that we could have that time. And it wasn't us finishing the committee presentation the night before and nobody seeing it until it's up on the screen in the room. So each wave, we're going to make whatever changes and steps necessary to include PCAC in the review process, to make sure that everybody sees the questionnaire before it goes out. And if there are any concerns, that you're able to voice it. In fact, I thought about circulating the last one, not the new one, and saying, hey, is there anything here that, you know, because what we're trying to do now is shorten it.
Yeah.
It's too long. So, you know, we're trying to rein it back in and kind of target focus on the customer satisfaction aspect of the customer satisfaction survey.
Yeah,
So, you know,
Rosalind has raised that as something about the length of it.
yes, yes. I mean, the railroads were the shortest.
Right, yes, yeah.
We definitely, you know, we do a lot of work looking at the statistics of how people take the survey to understand what we should do. And we have this thing called length of interview, and we've analyzed all the different numbers and combinations to see what parts of the survey, which modes, what types of customers, the impact of how long it's taking them to complete it. So we're actively working on that.
Roz, you have your hand up?
Yeah, did I miss this? I'm just wondering, what's your process? Because Lisa had mentioned, like, do you announce the survey coming out? So how do you get the survey to the people you want a response?
We have an email database of people who have participated in previous research, or who, you know, we have some old e-tics lists. We have various people who have participated and opted in to research. And we send out a little over 3 million emails for all 5 modes. Subway bus, express bus, AAR, and the railroads. I think that's 6 actually. No.
Well, subway bus is one, right?
Subway, local bus, express bus, AAR, Metro North, Long Island Railroad, all 6 modes. So we send out all the emails and people select which mode that they use most that they would like to rate.
You can rate 2 though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we found that we have about less than 20% of people take 2 modes.
I'm less than 20%.
You may use 2 modes regularly, but when people get to the survey, majority of them are saying, I'm just gonna rate the subway.
It just
I'm
takes
just
too
gonna,
long.
right, and you know, that we thought about how, you know, maybe we could limit it to 1, you know, just take the mode of your choice.
Take the other one another day, maybe.
Right, but that's,
Right.
you know, it's very hard at the MTA, as we know. Once you've given someone something, to take it away. It's
Just a couple of points. One is regarding the MTA, and I know it's not an MTA meeting, but when I get the subway surveys, what's not helpful for me, because I don't have like a regular stop that I'm going to. I'm always all over the place. And the MTA.
right. So, I mean, that's the thing for you're talking about the Pulse, the monthly survey, the short one. Take our monthly survey.
I just get an email from the subway that asks, you know,
Right.
about your regular station and so forth.
Pulse. Right. And so, you know, what they want you to do is to pick 2 lines and 2 stations that you want to rate this time.
Okay.
So I always say you should pick the stations you use the most because you're going to have the most information about them. But if there's a station that you used last week or the week before, and you really feel like you need to, you know, share,
Yeah.
you need to share that information because either the station experience wasn't what you expected, or it was so fantastic that you have to, you know, for subways, that's the way it works. You know, they understand that people, especially Manhattan people, have very different travel patterns than other modes. And, you know, we want you to pick the ones that you feel the strongest about and you feel that you want to give feedback about.
Well, I think that should be clearer in the instructions. But the other question I was going to ask, I find that now I get surveys in a lot of different ways. Go to the doctor's office, they send you a text, and it's not a long survey. So I'm wondering if you've given consideration to how the surveys are distributed. For example, if I'm getting on Metro North and I activate a ticket, is it possible, and I know this is a big technology thing, is it possible to have a question say, would you like to rate your ride today? And just have a few questions. So just, and you don't have to respond, just going forward, maybe thinking about ways of using technology, because it sounds like we're relying on people like me who will opt into research, and I'm happy to do it, whereas you want to catch a broader population.
Point taken. Recorded.
Well, that's a great idea. Peter,
Pietro. You're muted.
you're muted. You can talk, but you're muted. You can say anything.
Sam, first time caller, long time fan of your work.
Oh,
Hey, question. The connecting partners, do we regularly reach out to have their users participate? So Beeline would be the obvious, as well as CT Transit.
I would assume, you know, look, the majority of kind of like the reach out is done by GCR, by government and community relations. So if there's a contact from the Beeline that's on the GCR list, they will be contacted. They will get the press release. They, you know, if you had specific contacts a specific partner or connecting service agencies that you think, you know, should be, that an email might be good. So we did, just, you know, as an example. So not this time, but last spring, we contacted Fair Fares. And Fair Fares was able to send out the invitation to take the survey to all of their members that they deemed appropriate. The spring is done only in English and Spanish, so they did not want to send, if we didn't have the invite translated to Spanish, they only sent it to your English participants. Fine. So making that connection with the agency, because that's run by the city, and having a point person that was willing to take responsibility and say, send us your invitation and your link, and we will push it out to our members. If we were able to do that with Beeline or with NICE or, you know, New York Waterway, that would be great. We just don't have that contact information. You know, the person
I
who
mean,
would be able to make
sense.
it happen. So
Yeah.
if
Okay,
you got
I mean-
contact, Petey, you know.
Yeah,
start-
no, that's fine. I mean, we can talk about that offline.
Sure.
I think there's an
I'd be
opportunity
glad
just
to.
to,
We're always looking for new ways to kind of like bring people in and make them aware that that their customers are our customers too, and that, you know, some synergy is gonna help us. So that's.
yeah, it'd be the same thing with like Partnership for New York City, since obviously a number of their constituents, you know, we already deal with them and, you know, having them reach out to their own employees in their way. I mean, we're not going to have direct access to JP Morgan Chase, but we know there's a number of, you know, Chase employees who use.
Look, if you could get Merrill to agree that they would help us distribute, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can convince people on the 20th floor that
Yeah.
this would be worth our while.
May, you have your
Sam?
hand?
Sam, you mentioned GCR. We never been contacted to push it out to any of the connecting services.
Yeah,
Not
I
to
don't
my
know if it's-
knowledge.
I don't know if it's Shanifa's list or I don't know. I'd have to talk to Sophia.
It's not just well, it's not Metro North GCR.
Right, right.
I've never been.
Of course not.
I've never
Of
seen
course-
anything.
yeah. No worries. You know, I mean, this is something that like we're trying to figure out who has which lists, who has ownership of which list, who. We don't want to bombard external partners and agencies with 15 different requests for the same thing. So, you know, this is part of what we're trying to do now is figure out who can we partner with, who are our contacts there, are we reaching these people? What are they willing to do for us to help us promote the survey?
I would ask, NIMTIC also to ask their
Oh. member
member agencies.
That's a good
because
idea.
They're everywhere.
So, you know.
Oh, hey,
Randy,
one
we're
other thing.
talking-
Yeah,
Um,
I was just gonna chime in. Rosalind asked earlier about you know, chat, about rating our rides. On the Train Time app, there is a Train Time chat feature, which does actually get more utilization, and we are monitoring it and you know, taking in that information. So from a quality control standpoint, we know if people have a very poor ride or if there's something that goes on that, you know, needs to be responded to. So that is a feature. So just to give a heads up to Rosalind on that.
Maddie, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did. I was gonna, first of all, great report as always, ma'am. You know, I'm gonna wait till the very end because I was gonna make a general topic question and a statement, but I'll hold off till the very end, though, if that's
Okay.
all right by you.
Sure, absolutely, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Mike Stanton's hand.
Mike Stanton's hand up is up. You're buried a little bit under my header, so I apologize for not being able to see you. Mike,
I'll jump up. Yeah, just very narrow bore point. You know, back to the discussion about transfer responses in Metro North World. You would, I don't know if you said, it seems like that would make sense, that they would be thinking about transfers to the subway or other modes at Grand Central specifically.
Well, the question actually specifically says from one Metro North train to another. So we're asking about their transferring within the mode. And we're very clear about that because we don't want to have them be confused about transferring to the subway or to, to another railroad or to another
So that-
service.
Well, so that begs the question, do we ask them about transferring to other services?
We ask access and egress, so we know what mode they used
Yeah.
to get to Metro North, whether it's walking, driving, bicycling. The old joke was there was always somebody who put in pogo stick.
You know, my only thought, and that's something we've discussed in this group before, is that with the addition of Long Island Railroad customers to Grand Central, I think we have to be consciously or constantly monitoring the experience of people transferring at Grand Central onto the subway and, you know, specifically onto the Lexington Avenue line. So, you know,
Yes.
if those questions could be, you know, going forward in a way that you know, goes at that issue, I think that'd be worthwhile.
Awesome. Was that, is there something in the chat that I
Yes.
can't see?
It's, he had two questions, so I'm just trying to get it. It says, when does the NJ Transit contract come up, and can we add access to the raw satisfaction data into it? I also don't know if someone who answers,
Can you talk louder? And
oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, answers that they board at New York stations can bounce to the MTA survey maybe.
When does the NJ Transit contract come up, and can we add access to the raw satisfaction data into it? I also don't know if someone who answers that they board at New York stations can bounce to the MTA survey, maybe.
Okay, so one, the first part is about the contract, and that would be,
I think it just always happens, right?
I mean, they're talking about the contract for delivering service, that NJ,
That
the
Metro North-
operating,
That, yeah, that
the
Metro North-
operating contract,
Yeah.
right? That is Metro North executive leadership.
Right.
You
That's
know,
out of your pay grade?
It's a
From your pay
little,
grade?
just
Yeah.
slightly, you know, in terms of exactly how the contract is laid out and what data and information are required as part of the contract. And I don't know if there's anyone who actually would even be monitoring that
Right.
to make sure that they deliver on that. But yeah, that's a little bit out of my realm.
Yeah, there's another question in there as well.
Sure, what was the second part
If
was,
somebody boards in New York.
right, so,
and
okay,
Parks in
so-
New Jersey,
so
something.
we do, New Jersey Transit, they operate, they do their survey when they do their survey. We do our survey when we do our survey. Ours is determined by a lot of factors, including when my boss wants to report to board. So we can't sync up with them because we're not fielding at the same time. Their fielding methodology and our fielding methodology are different. If NJT, they collect scores for the New York stations in the service for Pascack and Port Jervis, because it's all part of the main line, it's all part of Pascack, and they report their lines as a whole. So they're not going to give us external data until they have finished doing their reporting. Having something in their survey that said, hey, would you like to go over and take, you know, be a part of MTA surveys, would be difficult because they would have to do something to figure out if they really are a New York State customer or not before they do that. Or else they would be sending thousands and thousands of New Jersey people to our survey, which,
But then we don't want that.
no,
And they'd say how great the MTA is and how jealous they are that
All
their
right,
services.
and how much they want congestion pricing.
Exactly.
build that
Was there another
Gateway Tunnel.
one seat ride?
Was there another question, part of that?
So I take the subway or bus a lot around the city, but when I take the bus, 75% of the time, it's up or down an avenue like Fifth Avenue. And I frequently don't care what line I take. For example, I want to catch the first M1, M2, M3, M4, M55.
But this is, so now we're talking about transit and we're not talking about transit. We are going to, but thank you for saying that, because we're gonna ask for a presentation on transit services for our New York City Transit Rider Council meeting,
At our
which is
other
on the
council.
29th.
Yes.
Did we ask you?
No, I'll ask, the guys, so we
Okay.
have two new-ish. Patrick has been here for a year,
Okay.
Mark is on, I think, month 6
Okay,
or 7. But both of them started last year. Patrick is handling buses and AAR, and Mark is doing subways, because we're kind of split by modes. But definitely, if you want someone at the transit
Yeah.
council, I'll
Great.
tell them when I get back
Super.
up.
I'll send you
when I
an
get back-
email on that.
Yeah,
so thank you for that lead in and leading question.
Right.
Um. Chris, you have your hand up, and then we're going to, I think, try and let Sam go.
Yeah. Yes, and I'll be the last question, which I'm actually glad that it'd be the last one. I did see the survey, and I have to say it was really well done. Two things just to add in. When you mentioned 125th Street, I was with Q, and I like what I'm seeing is the community and what the MTA Police and NYPD are working on the area to keep people safe and making sure that wheelchairs and walkers are getting on and off safely. So I think that adding to that question, 125th Street, we are seeing things getting done, but it's also regarding if people are paying close attention to if they see something, say something to the MTA police, or if you're at the subway, say something to the NYPD. That's something that we need to work on in the future. Regarding with the survey, since I do take the trains to Stanford, because my friend lives there now in Connecticut, I definitely could say this: your train performance timing, they do come in on time, but when they get to Grand Central, they come in extremely early, which I don't complain, but I have to say the speed on the train moves like Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Boom. And, it doesn't matter which direction, they move. And it's showing that train service is going really well. And I did put that in the survey saying that how is the New Haven line always runs on time, but if you're on the Hudson line, there sometimes is a delay, or the train is delayed because where it's going into the Bronx part, it gets delayed from there, just going from there to 125. So that's something we need to work on that. And I already mentioned about accessibility on surveys, which I know we're working on that in the next couple of weeks and days. So I'll hold on to another time. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, thank you so much.
thank you.
Awesome, much
Thank
appreciated.
you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. And obviously, if there are any other questions, things you think of later, you can always give them to Lisa, and she will send them to me. And
Happy Valentine's Day.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yay. All right, everybody
you.
have a safe Wednesday.
Thank you so very much,
That's-
and I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
But
Yes,
thank you, and
I know,
ask you about the next one.
Woohoo.
And then we'll be done. Then we'll be done with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
so getting back to the
Okay,
the
yeah.
agenda. All right, so Rich, we've held this over for you. You have an update on Harriman?
No, they're not coming till next month.
Okay, all right, we had you on there. All right, I think that we covered all the other items, Lisa.
Okay, I know. So Maddie had a question he was saving to the end. So
Okay.
Rich, when you say that, hold on, Maddie, when you say they're not coming till next month, we haven't had an update in a few months, so there's not been any progress, right? Or anything to
Well,
report.
It's really up to the applicant when they want to come back before the planning board. And the last time, I think, was November.
Uh-huh.
So I guess they're not ready to come back because there were significant changes to the site plan that they had to make. So I guess they're not ready.
Okay,
Do they have to make that based on the request of the zoning committee?
Oh, planning board,
Back to the zoning board? Planning board,
planning board.
okay. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Maddie, you have a question?
It's actually a question and a statement. I'll start off with the statement if that's okay, so please bear with me. Well, question first, actually. For the Metro North west of Hudson, those fares are controlled by New Jersey Transit, is that correct?
No. Absolutely not.
Nope. They're
Oh.
controlled by New York.
Oh,
By
New York.
MTA.
Oh, because the statement, I'm not sure if this is related. You can just, because New Jersey Transit for the first time since when Chris Christie was governor, Kim Guadagno was lieutenant governor, Jamie Foxx was chairman, and Ronnie Hakem was executive director. They're going to increase the fares by 15%. So I'm not sure if it has to be reflected. That's the only problem why I'm speaking here.
We used to have a fare hold now.
No,
It must
because the MTA had its fare policy announcement at the beginning of the year, and the board, or last year actually, right? And the board took its vote and did not raise fares west of Hudson.
Yeah,
Because
I
they
get
were
that's
already
good,
higher.
because I know part of the revenue that we get comes from the sales tax, the 3/8 sales tax, so goes directly to the MTA when you purchase an item. That's one of the main revenues that the MTA gets.
Yeah, the fares are not going to go up because New Jersey Transit raised. At least
All
not in. They can't be higher in New Jersey than they are in New York. So they have to come to a meeting point there, which they have. So yes.
Thank you, Bert. You kind of sound like Vinny Prieto, who's like the former New Jersey Assembly Speaker. That's anyway. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay. All right. So do we have? We did the social media already, right? Yeah, we did.
We did.
Okay. All right. So our next meeting you said is the 7th. I'll be there in person. So that will take care of that. Is there anything else anyone wants to say? Okay.
Just to call out what Lisa said earlier, thank you again to Jack and Kara for the help on that column, and certainly I think if other Westchester members of the committee in particular would want to sign on to it, I think that would make it more powerful in the Journal News. So please take a look when they send it around.
Thank you for your edits. They were terrific. And
So we still don't have a quorum, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Who are we missing?
We are we think, because if we need to be in person or at a publicly accessible location.
Gotcha.
So that's why.
Yeah, we had very nice attendance. 7 of us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't count.
We're hopeful that there'll be some changes that we'll continue to advocate for, and regarding the public meetings law, particularly for bodies like ours.
Right. Okay. All right. So thank you everybody for your time, and
thank you.
hopefully we'll see many of you next month.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day. That's right.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, and don't forget to get your chocolates and candy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
And if you see Cara, happy Valentine's Day for her.